take the country back from the radical left in 2022, the GOP needs to put forward a really ambitious, positive, and unabashedly pro-America agenda. And for months, the angle's been telling you those exact policies in order to help them win. See, end all COVID restrictions that remain, forget the mask mandates, stop the out-of-control spending, keep taxes low, get rid of critical race theory, support law enforcement, secure the border. Well, sounds a lot like the new contract with America that Donald Trump is working on with my next guest, former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. He added another pillar to Politico. He said it should be positive school choice, teaching American history for real, abolishing the 1619 Project, eliminating critical race theory. We should say bring it on. Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor, joins me now. Newt, why is now the time to resurrect a blueprint, an idea of a blueprint that you launched nearly 30 years ago? It's hard to believe.
I know. It is hard to believe. Well, look, I think that the radical left has given us an enormous gift. Working with a number of pollsters, we found out that, in fact, John McLaughlin in particular, well, there are over 30 issues where 75 or 85% of the American people agree, and these are issues where the left is totally opposed. School choice, for example, is a 72 or 74% positive with both Black and Latino families who realize that the current school system simply isn't serving them. You have a number of other places. After all of this talk about racism and racial division, by 91-5, the American people prefer Reverend Martin Luther King's proposition that he cared about the content of your character, not the color of your skin. That's like 91-5. You find that in terms of dismissing this corrupt politicians bill and insisting that you know who's voting, that you can identify them, that's about an 88% issue. And I think that part of the problem is Republicans don't appreciate the power of describing a better future, not just attacking the sick present. And so I think there are things we can do. The ones you mentioned are exactly in the right direction. Biden wants to raise taxes. 75% of the American people want to lower taxes. Now, you can't sustain, if we're competent, if we learn the arguments, if we are prepared to be disciplined, if we continually focus on the future, we're going to build an American majority that is bigger than the Republican Party, and we're going to shrink the radicals to about 15 or 16%. That's what Margaret Thatcher did. That's what Ronald Reagan did.
And Newt, you've pointed this out, and you've done this in practice, is focus on the education of our young people. What is happening in our public and private schools in the teaching of history and the obsession with race in all subject matter, from the summer reading lists of schools to the curriculum in the fall? This is populated by garbage and contemporary literature, which is poorly written and poorly conceived. And it teaches our kids to dislike each other, not to come together, but to dislike each other and distrust each other. You're on to something. I'm telling you, so many mothers are coming up to me today complaining about this very thing. Today.
No, you're exactly right. Look, I think in places, for example, like Fairfax County, which is supposedly a very blue county, you go around the county and you ask parents how they feel about dumbing down education, how they feel about bringing in racism. We've got to be straight, and we've got to be as clear and as strong in our language as the radical left is. The radical left is the most racist group in America, and we need to say that and take it head on. And we need to not be intimidated by the elite media, who are all sucked into this baloney and frankly are increasingly out of touch with the American people. The American people talk to themselves, and they build an understanding. And there is, I think, a hurricane coming of anti-left-wing, anti-radical, anti-racist views where people are just going to say nonsense. Either close the schools, fire the people, break up the teachers union, but get rid of all of this effort to brainwash our children. and for that matter, to brainwash the military, to brainwash corporate executives. I mean, it is pathetic, but it takes a conservatism that is articulate, is prepared, and understands where the fights ought to be if you really want to build a huge American majority.
No, this is absolutely necessary. The win in next year and in 2024 has to be overwhelming. It has to be a tsunami. So there's no mistake. Right. We're not going back to this nonsense again. Newt, I cannot wait to see your blueprint part 2, the second chapter of the contract with America.
Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell to get notifications anytime I go live.